Yes. That is all right, guys.
Yeah, what are we doing for a dinger?
Soldier boy, I'm in it. Why me crack it? Why me roll? Why me crack that soldier boy? That Superman? That now why me crack that soldier? 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 Now what?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I'm your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, his brain is always being effed by stupid, sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
Man, when that comes up later, I was just like, wow, the writers room really loves that line.
And the rumors of his demise were greatly exaggerated. Bruce Leslie returns, everyone.
I'm a prickly pear, and I was in South Dakota yesterday.
Oh, that's everybody's excuse for why they miss a podcast. You know, I was just in South Dakota. I wanted to be there, but South Dakota just calls, and boy, you got to pick up the phone when they call.
I was going to say, I mean, who doesn't go to South Dakota every now and then?
People from South Dakota are writing in, you know what? I don't take very kindly to all of this crap that you guys are talking. I know it's passive-aggressive, and I don't care for it. No, does anyone here in South Dakota care for you or your antics? Thank you.
We don't cotton irony around here.
Don't like any of it. But what we do like is The Boys, because we are back for our second half of season 3, which is actually a little bit more than second half, because we covered the first 3 episodes a couple weeks back here. So we're going to cover the rest of the season all the way up to episode 8 here in
So
The
Adam,
Boys
I got to
season 3.
ask you,
Yes,
how
sir.
did you watch this? Did you watch it all in one big slam, or did you like parse it out like a normal person?
Baby, I slammed it today, and it was...
oh my God. Why do you do that to yourself?
Well, listen, I won't go into details, but I had other things to do in the other days
Very good.
going around here.
Yes,
so,
very good.
yeah.
So I watched the first 3 episodes when we did the last episode, you know, on The Boys. And then on the weekend that the final episode came out, I went ahead and finished out the season that weekend.
I went ahead and broke both my feet.
Yeah. So that's how I watched it. I watched it 3 + 5 = 8.
Listen, the math sounds right to me. Before we get going into that, boys, let's make sure that we thank everyone that supports this show over at patreon.com/HMP, pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. And this is the new day of the month, or the first day of the month, rather, for all this kind of good stuff. And all of the new ones have gone through, but... as of this recording, we don't know who's all at the top of the food chain here, so we'll talk about all of that next week. And again, remember, if you guys are supporters over at patreon.com/HMP and you want to plug some of your stuff, drop us a line here. That's what we're all here for. We love you guys, and thank you so much for supporting this here podcast week after week, month after month, and we really appreciate it, guys. So let's get into it. Now, it's impossible for me to find a family-friendly trailer for The Boys Season 3, so I'm just going to leave it to Sean and Bruce to improvise what they think the best trailer would sound like.
What is that large thing wrapping around my neck at this party?
Oh my God, the most horrible thing I've ever seen on a television show in the last 20 years just happened.
Oh, you may not believe it, but Mother's Milk is really good at eating. Let's go on to something else.
Well, that was the improvised trailer that we just did for you. But let's see if we can pull something else out.
It's time for Bruce's comic book connection.
Oh, he's been on the road. I don't know if that he has anything, but we'll see what he's got, Bruce.
I'm going to try to impress you guys with another off the top of my head, because you guys can verify. I thought you were doing Super Pets today.
Yeah,
I really did. I was like, well, I'm going to have to miss yet another one, because there's no way I'm going to
Did you know who the third member of this podcast is?
Me? I'm the third member. I'm now so long. But anyway,
technically he is the N one, because he was the last one to figure out that this was an actual show. So that's probably technically true.
I'm going to talk about a 6-issue spin-off miniseries of The Boys called Herogasm. Not a family-friendly name. Should I warn people before I said the name of it?
I think all of Boys Season 3 should have a warning on it.
Yeah, guys, we're going to do our best, but there's going to be a little collateral damage. Even if I do my best old school euphemisms, I still got to say the name of the miniseries was Herogasm, right?
There you go. fine.
And the whole point of this issue series is a little bit different than what we get in episode 6, which also has that name. But the core is there. Like every year, there's this group of superheroes who get together for some adult, fun, naughty time. But the real twist in the Herogasm comic book is we find out that every year during Herogasm, Soldier Boy gives some good loving to Homelander because he wants to be a member of the Seven. And that's where it's real important to understand that when it comes to the comic books, Herogasm makes this explicit, but in the comic books, Soldier Boy is much less impressive than he is in the show. He's not all that serious. He's kind of a joke character. Nobody respects him. He's trying really hard to get in the Seven. He wants to be accepted by Homelander. So a very different take on Soldier Boy in the comic books than what we get in The Boys television show season 3. However, still clearly a pastiche of Captain America. I don't know what you call it, a takeoff on Captain America. In fact, there's actually 3 Soldier Boys because the first one died in World War II. So they grabbed another guy and made him dress up like Soldier Boy. Then he died in World War II, and they took a third one and claimed they thawed him out of ice, and it was the same guy, but it was actually just a different guy. So a lot of fun there. And that's it, man. That's my off the top of your head, talking a little bit about Soldier Boy's differences in the comic books versus the show, and the 6-issue miniseries written by Garth Ennis called Herogasm.
If I had clappy buttons on this bad boy, I'd hit one, and it would.
That's the only button I know.
It works well enough either way. Well, if that comic connection was enough for everybody, let me sell everyone on the second half of this Boys season 3, because let me tell you, this sucker's got everything. We got solid gold, Kylie Jenner roast, more sleepy Frenchie storyline, Butcher on V, Huey on V, Maeve looking fine. I'm going to use this line at work an awful lot as a boss. I'm going to say, in case you forgot, I tell you what to effing do, and you do it. I'm like, I like that one. Belle Biv DeVoe, Russian I Will Survive, action figure fighting, if you know what I mean, and I think that you do. Experimenting on children, yikes with that one. Killer robots, Soldier Boy, tell 'em. We got white people snacks, Almond Joy, Paul Reiser, for crying out loud. I'm a man who likes a musical number, but the one in this series ain't it. Some guys making dirty with a superhero lady on Skype. I don't know. I didn't find it too interesting, that guy. Drugging your friends, celebrities who I don't think understand irony, maybe. It's weird. Emmanuel Lewis shade. We've got Man in the Mirror Gollum talk. The Wilhelm scream. Chuck makes empanadas with Rachel Ray. Love sausage, Eyes Wide Shut, Soups edition. This one, this is one of my favorite quotes from that one is, lick it up, you yummy brown bear.
That is a good one.
Fun with octopi, dragged on asphalt. My favorite Soldier Boy quote, we're going to need more reefer. Black Noir goes in for a little bit more than a field trip, if you know what I mean. Flashdance, booze from Costco, which I hear is actually pretty good. More Than Words, super excited for that. Mollusque à Trois. I'm proud of that one, actually. Animated flashbacks, wind chimes, a knife to the eye, a Maury-like reveal, hair ripping, benzo smashing, power taking, new guy killing, gut punching, heart stabbing, eyeball blasting, chest gouging, or chest glowing rather, eyeball gouging, so much head trauma, building explosions, no Billy Joel this season, Cool Ranch Doritos. This show's got everything.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
You know, in Europe, they call Cool Ranch Doritos Cool American Doritos because they don't know what the heck ranch is.
I mean, I feel like they've got to have a ranch or two over there. They know what a ranch is, no?
Nope. Ranch is purely American.
What do they do for the ranch dressing then at that point?
Oh, my Lord.
It's Cool American dressing is what they call
Son
it.
of a gun.
It for the food podcast.
Do you think they call Italian dressing in Italy? No, they probably call it ranch.
Season 3 here, man. I tell you what, when this show started, especially with like the caliber of people and everything that were in it, we were all kind of like surprised that this would last more than one season because everybody in this show is pretty darn top notch.
Well, you know, it's funny because I didn't realize it till this season, and I can't believe I'm so slow on the take here. But you know, Carl Urban and Jack Quaid, they're both great in the show, but really, the star of the show is Anthony Starr. And if Anthony Starr goes away, your show is over. And it's just amazing
And
how much in the DNA of this show he is.
and what was Anthony Starr on? Banshee or something?
Yes, he was on Banshee for 3 years.
And I mean, he was great there, but I don't think that Anthony Starr was like, I'm trying to think of the right way to put it, because he's a good actor. People, casting directors know he's a good actor. They know he's a good person to cast, but he's not the kind of guy who sells tickets
Not
to
a
the
household
show.
name, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I think he probably is now.
Oh yeah, this is probably the role that made him that way. But we were talking about what a good cast we have. But when I look back, I mean, the biggest, probably the person whose agent can ask the highest rate is probably Giancarlo Esposito. And he's kind of absentee this season. Like he's busy maybe doing Mandalorian season 3 or something.
Or Saul.
Or Better Call Saul.
That guy's
Man, if
doing
they
a little bit of
crossover
work.
in those 2 shows, that'd be great.
He's doing a little bit of work that
Yeah,
Esposito
the
gentleman.
guy's busy. The guy's busy. So they've just barely still got him. I mean, Elizabeth Shue was gone after season 1.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think that, like, I mean, obviously, I'm sure part of it comes into play and stuff, but surely they wrote that around like, well, listen, he's kind of big. We kind of can't keep him on forever here, so let's just kind of write around this as best we
No,
can. To kind
I
of
think
exclude.
he told him I'm only available during this very small window of time.
Yes.
To make it work. I
Yes.
don't think that it was the other way around.
No, I
Yes.
mean, maybe I phrased it in an odd way to make it sound like he's the one around who's going, well, you're going to need to cut your show now because I'm leaving. I don't mean like that.
You know, this week that the rumor mill has been a stirring that they're talking to him to play Dr. Doom.
Oh,
Here's the thing. I don't like it just because I don't believe he's of big enough stature. Not that I don't think he's a good enough actor, because he certainly is. I just don't think he's big enough in stature to make that role work for him.
They'll put lifts in his shoes.
I mean, they put lifts in Anthony Starr shoes, but he still looks awful small in a lot of these
And
scenes
you may
if you
not
look at
know
him just
this.
right.
Josh Brolin is only 5'1.5", and he played. Robert Downey Jr. 4'10". Hollywood is good with these trick photography.
You put those cameras right at that belt buckle, it makes them look gigantic. That's all you got to do. It's pretty simple.
You know, I don't know if I've said this before publicly, and I probably have, but I'm off of shows once they're done with ideas. Once I see that they're
Treading water.
Oh, okay, you're just doing the same thing, just in a different way.
Mhm.
Like I'm out. And that's why this 3rd season really surprised me, because I was almost certain it was going to be just more of the exact same thing that we got.
Well, let's talk about this, Sean. I think you and I might have a little discussion here, a little dichotomy of opinion.
No, I think it's great. I think
Well, see, because I'm thinking like I wouldn't have minded if this was the last season.
Oh,
I feel
me
like
neither.
I
I
feel
wish
like
it
they're
was.
really getting dangerously close.
Well, the reason why I think season 4 is going to be dramatically different than this season is because they're doing the same thing that Star Wars is doing, which is that they're making it so that there's no stakes, and that is a problem.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna say the Soldier Boy story arc seemed pretty darn similar to the Stormfront story arc to me. You're just switching the team that he played for during World War II.
Oh, really?
Yes, you got this like Homelander's the biggest, baddest thing. Then you find that there's this secret old school hero from, the early days of V and Vought. And then you start to find out like the secrets behind him, like Stormfront turned out to be a Nazi. Then with Soldier Boy, he just turns out to be a jerk. And it really gets the idea that power corrupts, so it's not it's not necessarily that they're giving bad people superpowers, but the superpowers are making common people into bad people.
For me, it's the big change with Soldier Boy is that he causes just immense collateral damage when he loses it, and I think that is the interesting wrinkle to this character versus what we've seen in the past from this show, because they do treat it, as cutting and as sarcastic and as nihilist as this show can get. I think that they're doing a pretty good job of like, look, this is important. Like, he's killing a lot of innocent people, and we need to take care of this thing. I think they did a good job with that this season.
And I do think they missed. I don't know if we want to go ahead and start jumping to the ending on this, or if we probably should talk about some of the middle stuff.
Sure.
But I'm just going to say one of my critiques for the season is I felt like they had a chance to do something really interesting and they didn't with the ending. And we'll talk more about that, I guess, when we get to that part of it. But I really feel like they had a chance to do something super duper interesting here. And instead we got kind of like status quo. We're going to set up for another season of how are we going to try to kill Homelander and fail, and how's Homelander going to get more egotistical? Like there comes a point where it can't keep growing. You got to face off.
Yeah, you can only move that cape away from that bull so many times before you just go like, all right, is this all we're doing? Season
two was at a date and time where I was a little more engaged in its commentary on the political environment of the world, specifically that of America, the Stormfront. I was in a place where I could connect with what they were doing. This year, it got to the point, or this season, I should say, it got to the point where it didn't even feel like satire or parody. It just felt like they changed the names to protect the guilty. Like it didn't even feel like satire or parody sometimes. It felt like it was just too much. Like this is just directly what we've all kind of gone through and we're all sort of sick of. And I don't know that we really need more of the
retreading the same water over and over again.
We don't need more blatant political analogies to the U.S.
Yeah, it feels like you certainly did it last season, and I don't completely disagree with you, Bruce. I think
I think one good season of that makes sense, but then especially the way this ended with Homelander going down and doing something despicable and the people cheering him for it, like that felt like a season 2 thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Going in season 3 is risking running something into the ground. You know what I mean? That's the best way. And I don't want him to try and do the thing where it goes on so long it comes back around to being funny again. I don't want to do that.
Man, I'm so tired of that bit.
Yeah, it doesn't need to become a, what wacky way can Homelander get out of another, big trap or something like that. He doesn't need to be Mr. Magoo.
Do either of you guys have any idea what the COVID impact was on production?
Well, they just didn't shoot it. I mean, this is one of the shows that they kept kicking the can down the road.
When did season 2 wrap?
Oh, geez, you're talking
pre-COVID?
No, it was mid-COVID.
Okay. I thought it might have been pre-COVID because I couldn't even quite remember when season 2 wrapped at this point. But it felt like a lot of this was written in 2020. And instead of updating the script when they finally shot it, they just stuck with some of it.
I could see that.
Some of it felt like it might have been fresher when they wrote it, and then they didn't freshen it up.
Well, one of the things that they really are leaning into, especially in this last season here, is that it feels very, very Garth Ennis-y, and not the war Garth Ennis, but the shock and awe Garth Ennis.
Yeah, the Garth Ennis that really got everybody's attention, but then we all turned 20 and we were
then the 90s were over and we became adults.
I mean, we're all always gonna love Preacher, but when he starts trying to out Preacher with things like Crossed and The Boys, I mean, it's just like, forget it.
And one of the things this year that I also figured out was that just how much the writer's room loves the Deep. They love that actor. They love his delivery on everything, and they keep giving him more and more to do because that character should be basically one note, and they're making him something far, far more.
And he shouldn't be around a whole bunch. Like if you really kind of think about it, the character doesn't need to be anywhere near any of this stuff.
Purely personality driven because his powers, his storyline don't really need to be there.
Right.
Here's my question: what kind of opportunities come along for Chase Crawford after The Boys wraps? Let's say season 4 is the final season.
Well, if he wants to go opposite, because that's what most actors want to do, right? So, you have take somebody like Chris Evans, who now that he's no longer Captain America, he is the villain in everything now because that's just what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And so I would think that he's probably, if he was given the opportunity to do something, it would, or if he wanted to zig rather than zag, he would do something like a romantic comedy.
I was about to say,
something
I
along
could
those
see
lines.
him in that really well, though.
Wasn't he from like Gossip Girl or something like that?
No clue.
I couldn't tell you. I don't.
Yeah,
know.
it was from something that would fit in on the CW, even if it wasn't Gossip Girl, it would fit in there. He was kind of a, Riverdale type heartthrob kind of guy. So this was a big change for him. And like he heard, you get a role in this superhero show. He wasn't familiar with the boys. He accepted the role, then he got the script for the first episode and thought, oh man, my career is over. Like this is it. I'm never going to work it, because his career wasn't in a good spot when he took this role.
Well, here
And
he's
now
got
I think he's going to be huge after this.
He's got two things in production right now as we're speaking. One of them is called Riptide, and it's not based on the TV show from the 80s, which is unfortunate. It says when a biker gang's drug operation is raided by the ATF, the gang leader's two sons develop differing views about the gang's future.
So which gang leader's son do you think Chase Crawford would be?
Well, that's what he is for sure. Right?
Capulets or Montagues? Which one is it?
and then he's in something called Reunion, which is a murder takes place in a high school reunion party. A snowstorm leaves the guests trapped in an isolated mansion. So this is probably
a Simpsons episode.
This looks like, the way that they're writing to it sounds like it's a comedy, but I
thought it was a Rian Johnson film.
No, it's not. It's and that's coming out soon too, right? The sequel is coming out.
I would love it if Knives Out 2 starred Chase Crawford as Benoit Blanc.
But he is the main character. Chase Crawford is the main character in that.
I think this is going to be like huge for the second half of his career.
I could also see him like going kind of down like a Jeremy Renner sort of path as well.
Because he was getting a little too old to be the teeny bopper idol, but he's still a handsome guy, and to give him all this pathos, and he can act. The bottom line is he can act because he really portrays the pathos and the conflicting nature of what he's doing. I think he might be doing the best acting job on this show. Now, not necessarily the most charismatic or the most enjoyable because of what he's being asked to do.
He's making love to mollusks. So what's come on.
I think he has the most range in what he's asked to do. Of course, nobody's going to have the charisma that Anthony Starr or even Carl Urban, man. Just the first two seasons in particular, you couldn't help but just be like drawn to that dysfunctional leader of the group. I think he gets a little too annoying for me in season 3, but still, he's got that Carl Urban charisma comes through. Like Billy Butcher, from a guy who's had a lot of roles, I think Billy Butcher is the role Carl Urban seems best suited for.
He was from Chase Crawford was from Gossip Girl.
There you go.
That is confirmed.
I think with
Gossip
those,
Girl was like the Umbrella Academy of the early 2000s, right?
It just kind of keeps spreading. There you go. I like where everybody is kind of going with the V. I figure we had to have that at some point where, these non-superpowered guys would end up getting superpowers. I think even before, any of us kind of, or at least I knew of any of the kind of storyline and stuff, I'm like, oh, well, it feels like that's certainly a place that we're going to. And because if you're not losing powers in these shows, you're gaining them. So it's either one or the other.
And it's interesting, too, because the stuff with the temporary V, hits in issue 3 or 4 of the comics. They really took their time getting around to this, which I think was an interesting choice. I think it works better for the show, taking your time to get to it. But it also makes me feel like they said, we're not going to do that in this show. And then they're like, well, we got to do something. We're going to do that in this show. Like something that was introduced so early in the comics to come around in season 3. I feel like at first they said, no, we're not going to do that at all. We want, the story loses its impact if the regular people have superpowers. And then I feel like they changed their mind because maybe they didn't have enough ideas for season 3.
Well, I mean,
one of the things that was interesting though, take Black Noir, right? Black Noir in the comic is just Homelander, a Homelander clone, right?
Yeah, Black Noir in the comic way too much of a match for Soldier Boy. So that was a big change there where he's afraid of Soldier Boy.
And to have that character go to the abandoned Chuck E. Cheese and all the cartoon characters speak to him all the time is one of the highlights of this season.
And I think the only end credit scene that I've seen so far out of 3 seasons of The Boys was at the end of that episode when the little beaver comes out and stutters a little bit.
I didn't see that.
It's my favorite part of the show, and that's what I mean by like if they're not bankrupt with ideas.
And I like that too because it's totally fresh. It's not from the comics. I like stuff that seems a little off the wall, like where the heck did that idea come from? And it totally feels like that. Now, I heard some people complain that they didn't understand it. It didn't move the story along. It didn't go anywhere. But
Get out of here.
Those people are stupid.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to show us the organic brain injury, the brain damage that Black Noir suffered after Soldier Boy mushed his head in, basically,
and gives us a proper backstory and stuff, and does it in a way that's honestly more entertaining than it would have been if they'd actually filmed the darn thing.
Yeah, and I mean, think about all of the Kamiko sequences this year too. Like that shows me that they're not bankrupt for ideas. It's like they're doing interesting stuff. They're taking chances with things.
It felt like this should have been the. I still call her the female because that's her name in the comics, but it feels like this should be the female part 2 movie because she loses her powers for most of it.
That's true. That's true.
But that was another one of those things like taking her powers away just to give them back to her. And yeah, there was a little bit explored there, but I wouldn't mind if her powers had either stayed gone or hadn't left in the first place.
It was the fastest turn for that. Does she turn in the same episode?
No, it's the next one.
But like it's not long, man. It is so fast. And she's like, I regret everything.
that really felt to me like something that should have been a longer storyline, or that we should have had to deal with those consequences more. Or when she did try to get her powers back, suddenly they come back.
Exactly. Somebody that wants out for a good long time finally gets out and then is out for a bit and has that, oh God, I need to go back so I can finish,
Also,
helping out, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Also, she's not exactly Ben Grimm. Like, we all understand why Ben Grimm wants to be human again.
Right.
But if she doesn't want to kill people, she doesn't have to. Like, if you tell me somebody could shoot you in the head and you would survive it, or somebody could shoot you in the head and you would die, I'd say, I don't want to be a freak, but I kind of like, being bulletproof. So, like, she doesn't have to do anything with her powers. She's not the thing. So that's why, like, at least when her powers were gone, maybe she could talk again. Like, give us some reason why she wants her powers gone.
And I kind of thought
but isn't that where they were headed with that?
That's what I thought. You do it. It was only in dream sequences and stuff.
I thought that she was making noises with her vocal cords, though.
I don't know, man.
I think she had like one or two
episode once. I didn't go back over it again, but every time I thought she was talking, then it turned out she was daydreaming or dreaming.
Yeah, the big dance number and everything, that's all a dream and stuff. But I think she realizes that she may be able to start to talk or something like that. But it doesn't get to the singing and stuff, which, again, I'm a big, song and dance man, but that one didn't do it for me. I don't know why. But like her fights and stuff later, or earlier and later, were both great. But like the dance number didn't do it for me.
And I like the idea of her not having powers anymore, but still being able to like kick people's butt.
That would be far more interesting. And I agree there. But it feels like they needed to get to the point where, for the last episode fight. I mean, that's basically what they needed to get to.
Bash her up real bad and everything and make it like, oh, she has to have this in order to get healed up here and everything. And once, the fast healing gets there, then she goes berserk on everybody. That makes more sense.
I think they justified it well that she wants to protect Frenchie, so she needed her powers back. And she did lose her powers accidentally, so I can give them a pass on that. It's not like she went out of her way to get rid of her powers and then decided she wanted them back, So she lost her powers accidentally, and then she got them back to protect Frenchie. I just wish it had taken longer. Like I could see maybe not getting your powers back till next season. Say she needs them back for the final fight. I say maybe she doesn't. I think maybe they make that final fight or give her some V24, but not the actual V.
And maybe there needs to, exactly. And maybe there needs to be like, I don't know, just more of it, just beyond her thinking, oh, maybe I can get these, these powers going, because I'm sure it's not, it is probably a burden for a lot of the people that have that sort of stuff. And like, I like that idea of people that have these special abilities and gifts beyond those of mortal man who stand back and go, I don't know that I should have this and stuff. Like, I think that's an interesting,
And that's something the X-Men have explored really well with the mutant cures and the mutant inducers and the Terrigen Mist and stuff. But yeah, it is interesting. And I think having her be the primary character with that perspective is interesting, but I think it would also maybe be interesting if the idea of the cure was explored by some of the people with the more disfiguring type of power. Like we've had a few people that don't look like, the guy with the gigantic climbing schlong. That can't be convenient.
Yeah. I always
get in the way.
I always go back to the like the kind of early 2000s there and Doctor Doom over in Geonosis and stuff, and getting all like the kind of mutant kids over there that don't really have powers that manifest into anything. It's like the one guy's like, what's his power? He looks like a bird. He doesn't really fly.
Yes,
he just his face.
Those Grant Morrison kids.
Yeah,
exactly.
Grant Morrison run. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just like, well, that's just what he does. He's just this beaky looking kid, and that's his mutant quote unquote power.
So I've been leading up to something here, which is that last week we saw The One, Jet Li's The One, and the movie is okay. Like it's totally passable. Okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
The problem with that movie is that it doesn't have any of those moments where you're like, wow, where you're like, that is brilliant. That is clever. That is neat. Like that you're going to take that home with you. And one of the things that The Boys definitely has is that there are moments in the show, whether it's something funny or something disgusting or something awful, but they also are clever. And so the thing that's the most clever this season to me is when A-Train takes out Blue Hawk and he has the heart attack and you don't know what's going to happen. And they end up giving him the heart so that now he can run fast again because that guy's also super powered.
I love that scene. And that was a much better way to deal with losing your powers and getting it back than with the female.
That is something that is like, for me, that is one of those lock moments where it's like, oh, these guys really know what they're doing. And it's the moment where I was like, okay, I'm completely in on this season again, even though I kind of liked it already. But that moment there, I was like, wow, they know what they're doing.
And that Blue Hawk storyline and Blue Hawk commentary is also something I could have got along with a little more in season 2 than in season 3.
Sure.
Because not only is it just entirely on the nose,
yeah,
but it's also, I don't want to like come across the wrong way by saying it's kind of stale, but that stuff was in the news 2 years ago.
Yeah, it is
always
very
in the
stale.
news.
But it doesn't. But that plot line has almost nothing to do. It's almost like it was a feint that like you think we're doing this with this, but actually what we're showing you is that A-Train really doesn't care about literally anyone.
Well, now did you ever see the episode of the Jeffersons where the terribly racist white guy is in a car wreck and he needs a blood transfusion and George has the right blood type and he gives him George's blood, and when he found out, he said, "You should have let me die." And that was like the way the episode ended. Welcome to Jefferson's talk, guys. Like, I love Jeffersons. I think it would have been, I almost got that feeling from A-Train here. Like he almost would have rather died than have this guy's heart.
Well, for me, it's more like when he's talking to his brother after all this is said and done. He's talking to his brother, and his brother's like, I did not ask you to do this. I don't want you to do this. And I don't want to see you anymore because you clearly aren't thinking about me at all.
Well, if you're a murderer, the bottom line is, it doesn't matter if you were justified in killing the guy, you're a murderer, and I don't want a murderer in my house.
And let me just make this public now. If I am murdered, I do want vengeance wreaked upon that person. Horrible, horrible vengeance.
This may sound strange, but I'm going to go on the record. If I'm murdered, I want the murderer to get my heart in a transplant, even if he doesn't need it.
I want him forcibly to take it. I think A-Train had like just
this guy ate a lot of Fritos.
I was going to say, then who gets the revenge? Because my heart is not in great shape. I just took 12 years off your life, buddy. You killed me. I'm killing you just slowly. I'm slowly strangling you like a turtleneck that's a little too tight.
A-Train stuff is great because, like, I love the path that this kind of character is taking because he is trying hard, but he's also a really horrible person.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to learn how to be a good guy. And another thing with him that was just too on the nose was the whole Kylie Jenner Pepsi commercial.
Oh yeah, man, that's
like
rough.
some of that stuff is just too on the nose.
Yes.
And like I said before, 2 years ago would have been relevant.
Yeah, a little late for it. I do like, I will say this is, as somebody who kind of, fancies himself more down the middle. They poke enough at all sides, which I think is nice, and it's kind of refreshing to see in a lot of shows where I'm like, oh, okay, everybody's getting a little bit of little bit of action here somewhere or the other, which is nice.
And wasn't there like a Netflix show or some streaming channel show where a person of color was trying to explore their roots, and it was kind of cheesy, and they really seemed to mimic that?
Oh,
too.
there's a ton of those, and the best part is like when they find out some stuff that they were not looking for, and like the kind of devastation in some of their faces, where they're just like, "Oh no, my rich ancestry is not exactly what I thought it was." I don't give two craps about ancestry and all that kind of crap. It's just not a thing that.
But yeah, they have that show that they're working on for A-Train, which looks like something on Nat Geo, where I'm a black man and I will go to Africa to be even blacker, or something weird like that.
Well, yeah, and again, that's another like great thing that I like, that where we're pointing at Vought and all the things that Vought does, and I like that Ashley has taken over, the Giancarlo Esposito role, here and everything, and that's now she's the one that's in charge with all of that.
And I like the slow play payoff, like on her pulling her hair out throughout the show. Like,
oh man,
comes real nicely there at the end.
She is Colby Menifee. Like, I don't know, I don't know where her career is headed, but this is one of those roles where, like, you remember the movie Dave?
Oh, love Dave.
Yes.
And we're walking. Mm-hmm. That part is 30 seconds of that movie. And every single time I saw her in a Bonnie Hunt and another thing after that, I was like, oh, it's that lady who I love. This is the same thing for me with Colby Menifee, because she is so great in this role. And she literally, it's one of those moments where it's like, I don't know if this is, like, again, perfect casting. And they were like, well, this woman's clearly on the edge. So let's bring her in.
The guy from Say Anything and Grosse Point Blank.
John Cusack?
Yeah, John Cusack. His sister. I think Colby Menifee can get the roles that once went to his sister. Like, I think she's that type of actor.
One of his sisters is on the show.
One of John Cusack's sisters?
Yeah, Ann Cusack is on the show, is on The Boys.
Who is she?
She was on the first season, I want to say.
Because I was thinking of Joan more specifically.
Right. And I do love Joan.
I didn't know Annie Cusack was on the show, but I think that Colby Menifee could take some of the roles that used to go to Joan Cusack.
I could see that.
Which is unfortunate because she's so great.
Yeah. Everyone's great. So I want to talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about
sincere.
My Lord.
The sex
that was an Adam Portress level of sincerity. That is,
what was it?
My God, you should feel awful about yourself right now.
Yeah, I have nothing but remorse. Okay, so the hero gasm.
Oh yeah. Let's make your point abundantly clear right now. Yes, please.
But, we in no way endorse any kind of sexism or racism on the show. So moving on to hero gasm. I think that they stepped on their own toes here with because they had that whole termite thing in like episode 1.
Yes.
And either you make hero gasm happen in episode 1 or you make the termite thing happen in hero gasm.
Yes.
But you can't totally like you can't give us just a regular party with something that far out and incredible and disgusting and memorable, then give us the big 70th anniversary superhero orgy, which is really boring. Like, it's not even as exciting as far as, like, compared to the thing that went on with the termite. This might as well be like the beginning of Old School when everybody shows up for the orgy. Like, it's pretty boring.
It feels like they started out like on a good path, and then all of a sudden the paper was due, and they were like, "Oh boy, we gotta rush through this sucker. How much of this can we do in post? You say?"
And the only thing that really worked in the Herogasm episode for me at all, like I thought this was where season 3 started to drag a little bit. I think it went out with a little bit of a whimper compared to how strongly it came in. But the only thing that really worked for me in Herogasm is that it made absolute sense that Huey would pop in buck naked and walk around. Like that was kind of funny.
I do
But the
love
rest
how
of it
that's a
also great.
weird subset of that power is him moving really fast and doing so removes all of his clothing. And if he does it with someone else, also their clothing as well.
Yeah, he's teleporting. He's not moving fast.
Well,
He's
whatever.
teleporting.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense because, like, you know, why would my ability to teleport take my clothes with me? Like, there's got to be a limit to how much you take with you.
Yeah, that's what I always liked about the
Cusack. Ann
Ann
Cusack is Annie's mom on the show.
Oh, whoa. I totally didn't recognize her. Wow.
Yes.
Because she showed up this season too, then.
Yes. She's been on all 3 seasons.
Wow. Well, good for her.
finally
Anyway,
those Cusacks
Herogasm.
getting work.
Yeah, let's go back to your blazing hot point about a Herogasm. Yeah.
I think I already made it. It's just they stepped on their own toes. It was disappointing. This is where I felt like season 3 started to get a little bland, started to disappoint me a little bit. Weren't what I wanted them to be.
You're right. I mean, you know, and this is at the point too where there's some storylines that start happening where you're like, oh man, we're going back to this again. And I wasn't feeling that until basically mid-season. And so you are right. I mean, in Herogasm is really where all that starts because they kind of overplay their hand. And I think that's the exact verbiage you just used, right? So like, it's one of those things where like, you guys think that you have something that you don't actually have here. Because all of the ads for that were like, oh, get ready, everybody. Oh boy, if you thought The Boys was bad before. And it's like, dude, we just saw a man blow up inside of another man.
Yeah, it's like this is just
season.
this is just a whole bunch of people getting it on and a couple of special effects going everywhere. It doesn't feel big or, you know, like you said. And I did love the running gag of like Frenchie's going to be mad that he's missing this. I don't know why. I just think that's just such great. Like, oh, he's going to be mad. And at the same time too, you're watching it going like, what's he looking forward to? What is he super excited for that? Okay.
Well, I mean, we all have friends who are, you know, a little bit
true.
Too lascivious, and he is that in that friend group. I get it.
Yeah.
I do like the idea the guy rubs against Mother's Milk and he's got something slimy on him. He doesn't know what it is. Lick it up, you chocolate bear. Like Mother's Milk is definitely the last person who wants to be at this party, and that does make it kind of fun.
I've really enjoyed his arc in all 3 of these seasons and stuff. I think he's one of my favorite characters, and I kind of also like that we don't sit on him too much, you know.
I will say that his ex-wife has some range in the kind of guy she's attracted to.
Yeah, that is a wide range for sure.
Just between me and you, she needed a little less action in the bedroom, right? Like, there's no way she's getting the kind of sweat with this new guy she was getting with Mother's
He's
Milk.
like, I have so much on my plate. I don't need anything else to add to it. This guy will make sure that I've got a lot more free time.
Well, as my mother said to me at 18 years old, different doesn't always mean better.
Yes, true. Now, in episode 7, I mean, we've talked about most of the big stuff that happened here, but one thing that we didn't really talk about is the reveal that Soldier Boy is Homelander's father. I don't think that was a surprise to anybody.
No,
It wasn't a wild one, no.
No, it's the Stan Lee of it all. Of course he is.
And it's a show only thing, surprisingly. It's not a comic book thing. It's a show.
Wow, really?
Yeah, in the comic book, I'm pretty sure he was like Homelander came from Stormfront, who was a male in the comic book.
Oh, I see. But and that kind of makes sense too, because you've already got the Black Noir character.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too much.
Which I thought, given some of the creepy stuff they did with Homelander in season 1, it would have been real interesting if it turned out Stormfront was his mother. And
oh my Lord,
still cool with what they were doing. Like,
oh my God,
that would have tracked with this show in that case.
Exactly.
Yeah,
this show you would have been like, that sounds about par for the course.
So that was the twist I was expecting, but that didn't come. And then this one, the twist I was expecting that did come. Soldier Boy's his father, and that's pretty boring.
I mean, the only thing that at least, I agree, boring, but like if indeed you're going to do that, at least with this, you have the layered effect of having not only Homelander, but Homelander's son. So then you can say, hey, here's the grandson. I do like that. And again, I love it and I hate it at the same time. The fact that, that was, Butcher's wife's that was her kid and his kid and everything. So he still feels, a certain way about the kid and whatnot, but obviously needs to let the kid go. I at least am glad they put all of those layers still in there to at least give a little bit of gravity to the situation to make it more comic booky, I suppose.
Could we ask like the sci-fi superhero and fantasy creators to take like a 15-year-old hiatus on the father reveal twist? Like, man, that is one that it wouldn't hurt if it got a little time on the shelf before it came back down.
Agreed. Totally agree. Especially if we're going to keep, if we're going to keep up the volume that we're cranking out these things at. Like, right. Let's come up with something new, everybody.
What if he was come up with a storyline where it turns out Anakin really got around and he's everybody's father? Like Anakin is Captain America's father.
Well, that's Ego the Living Planet.
Bilbo's father. Yes, exactly.
Ultimately though, at least I don't know. I like that element enough for it to kind of, pass muster for me. But like, I think you're right. We don't need any more, kind of father reveals. What if it was just like, yeah, I'm your father in as much as like I created you as a science experiment? Even that's more of an interesting thing than just like, oh, you're the son of the thing. Maybe, Frankenstein's monster, maybe. I don't know. Again, I'm just kind of thinking out the box here.
Anything different.
Other than the same old that it seems that we get from time to time.
Yeah. And then, we get the last episode with the big final battle here. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I really, really liked season 2's battle with Maeve, Starlight, and Emiko versus Stormfront. Way more than I liked whatever this anticlimactic thing was.
Yeah, I agree. And this is the moment where I was saying I'd given Adam the warning that like, I really like season 3, but I don't know how on board I'm going to be with season 4 because, like there's no stakes. If everyone survives that, then there's no stakes.
I think season 3 could have been a great place to do one of two things. Either end with both Butcher and Homelander dead, and that's the end of the series, like series finale, or we're in this room. We have this big battle with Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy discharges his chest beam, doesn't hit anybody directly, but everyone in the room loses their superpowers.
Yeah.
So Homelander has no powers. Maeve has no powers. Starlight has no powers. We can't use V-24 anymore for Butcher and Huey. So they've got, in season 4, they've got a depowered Homelander. First off, and the little boy loses his powers too, so he can grow up to be normal. So the first thing we have in season 4 is Homelander trying to figure out how to interface with reality when he has no powers, which is going to be interesting. Plus, he's going to be in Butcher's custody, where, of course, Butcher wants to just kill him in cold-blooded murder, but you got Starlight and Huey and Mother's Milk saying, hey, he's got no powers now. He's no danger to anybody. We can't just kill him. We got to put him on trial, but they don't have enough evidence to convict, blah, blah, blah. So, you get that whole argument. Should we kill him? Should we not kill him? Meanwhile, there's some kind of fanatical follower out there that's going to try to get some more V to Homelander. Of course, he's probably going to get it, and then you have a big fight. But I think they really missed a chance to end this season on a very interesting note that has me wondering what they're going to do in season 4.
Right.
And instead, they've got it ended where I'm like, how did these people live? Like how is Maeve still alive but with no powers? She fell out of a skyscraper with no powers, and she's still alive. She's going off to a farm. The kid's turning pure evil because he's with his dad, and it was kind of cool that. Also, it's kind of cool that Butcher is now on borrowed time because he's got to like hold nothing back now. But it's also kind of a cop out where they said 1 more dose and you're going to die. He takes that last dose and he's like, yeah, you only got 18 months left to live. I'm like, come on.
The old Rocky defense. It's like, oh, you got 1 more fight left. 1 more blow to the head could just like, all right, there's 4 more movies after this.
But yeah, you could have like that final season where Butcher wants to see Homelander die before he dies. And we got to deal with all that, and we're not going to get that. We're going to get another season the same.
Of course. It's the most popular show on Amazon. They're going to keep going.
Yeah, they really need a reliable spinoff so they don't have to turn this into The Walking Dead, where it's like you're ashamed to say you were a fan.
Yeah, you certainly don't want that.
And it's a little worrisome that the showrunner has a history of 15 seasons.
But that's not his fault, man. I mean,
that's the CW/WB. I mean, it's so old it survived the network transition.
They had finished that show no less than 3 times, and the network was like, "Hey, can you guys come back?
Baby, come back.
We need some more money, please. Can you?
It's like the abusive boyfriend that keeps buying them flowers so they come back after they're out.
You remember that Ike and Tina like sketch? It was like I think it was SNL back. Oh, come on, baby. Oh, giving her flowers. All right, but let's before we get to our Robin rating here and everything, we have to ask ourselves one very important question: how's this Amazon show relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone?
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Oh.
Dear Mr. Stallone, I don't know if you know this, but years ago, we had a podcast that was almost successful called the Preacher Podcast. And on that podcast, we would break down each episode of the show Preacher. When we started, I did a bit called The Shameful Paycheck, where each week I would find one actor's worst acting gig and talk about that at length. One of the better entries was when an actor had worked on something called Fart the Movie. To this day, I still have never seen Fart the Movie because when I'm not depressed, I'm a very busy person, and I think that I'll never have enough time to watch something called Fart the Movie. I bring all this up because this week we're veering into Shameful Paycheck territory with the work of actor Nick Weichler, who plays the role of Blue Hawk on season 3 of The Boys. Nick is connected to you through the TV show This Is Us, or as I like to call it, Let's Talk About Our Feelings, where each week the writers come up with situations where the characters do nothing but talk about their feelings for an hour. And while I would rather watch a video of the most embarrassing moments of my life on a loop, it turns out that the show was successful, and you appeared on it for one episode playing yourself. Nick Weichler was there too, where he had a 4-episode arc as the role of Ryan Sharp. He's also worked on shows like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Cold Case and For All Mankind, but that isn't how his career started out. Nick Weichler's big break was as a series regular playing Kevin Trek Sanders on a TV show that ran for 22 episodes called Team Knight Rider. I must admit to you, Mr. Stallone, I didn't know this show existed until this very week. But to give some context on just how wrong-headed the show is, it's a revamp of the classic TV series Knight Rider. And they have the audacity to not have David Hasselhoff appear anywhere in the series. But you know what, Mr. Stallone? I don't feel like I have the authority to speak on this topic, never having seen the show. So instead, I'm going to go to the experts on this topic, which is IMDb user reviews.
Yeah.
And guys, as you know, I try to look for the reviews that are unintentionally funny because most reviewers think they're hilarious, but are sadly not. However, this review I have chosen is actually funny, and I have to give credit to the user. I don't want to use the person's name because I think it's their actual name, but here's the review, and it's entitled, quote, "The term went downhill after Hasselhoff left is no longer an oxymoron." And May writes, "The TV movie prospective pilot Knight Rider 2000 was dreadful, no doubt about it. But the later Team Knight Rider made that misbegotten effort look like Brian's song in comparison." This really makes you appreciate David Hasselhoff's contribution to the original show. And as big-headed as he might be, he definitely has more charisma and talent than the mob assembled here. Kit also had more personality than the gadgetry on display here as well. The theme music was good, but otherwise, this embarrassing farrago was so subpar that Glenn Larson couldn't have been blamed for taking his name off of it if he'd chosen to do so. But then again, anyone who's seen the truly appalling pilot for Nightman will know that shame isn't part of Larson's vocabulary. Thank heaven this didn't get a second season. And they were classy enough not to leave a star rating. No, Mr. Stallone. I think if they're ever going to make a Knight Rider reboot, and they will, here's what I would do in that situation. Have David Hasselhoff voice the car, get somebody like Richard Grieco to play the new Michael Knight, have the show be funny, but no one on the show thinks it's funny. But that's my 2 bits. And there's your Stallone connection this week, actor Nick Weichler. I hope to hear from you soon. Your biggest fan, Sweet Chauncey from the internet.
I don't know if you boys saw it. I think it was this week. Our own Sylvester Stallone is going to be in a superhero film where he plays a retired superhero. Did you guys see this?
Oh, sir, I know everything about that movie.
My goodness. At some point,
yes,
we're going to have to get on
the
that.
The Samaritan.
Look good. It looked pretty good.
It does. It does look good. And it's kind of where he's at in his life and career now. So it's like it's kind of perfect.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty sweet. All right, let's get down to it. Here Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. Bruce, where does The Boys Season 3 fall in the Robin rating system for you?
It's still enjoyable, but it's given me some reason to be concerned about what the future holds. I'm not going to blame this season for my concerns about things that haven't happened yet. That wouldn't be fair. But the last 3 episodes did disappoint me a little bit. Did start to slip and slide, but I did have enough fun that I think we're still in Tim Drake territory, but we're going to right close to that border with Damian Wayne for me.
Sean?
I am on the same exact train as Bruce, although it seems like I liked it more, but I'm in the same camp. I think that it's a low Tim Drake for me. The thing is, I like the season, but I don't like where it's headed. And I think that we're going to feel that more and more for season 4. But for season 3, this is a low Tim Drake for me.
I think I'm going just at Tim Drake. I smashed through this sucker in an afternoon and everything, and really, really enjoyed it. I never there are moments, of course, the Frenchie storyline parts. You kind of start going, what are we? Okay, we're getting back together. But outside of that, most of the stuff is still very compelling, and you kind of go along with it. I mean, exact same points as you guys. Not sure, that we needed kind of a lot of the same themes over, and not quite sure where we're headed with this. I mean, I really like Bruce's kind of pitch for season 3 that will never happen. But
it is a better idea.
Yeah, that's a far better idea than what we've kind of seen go on here, or at least where it feels like we're going. But maybe they'll prove us wrong. Maybe they'll prove us wrong for season 4. And like we said, this show is popular enough that I think that they're not going to have a problem with that. But hopefully they don't stretch it too far and go above and beyond anyone's welcome, I suppose. Well, that'll do it, everybody. We got another episode of Here Movie Podcast under our belt. Bruce, thank you for finally coming back and everything. You were gravely missed, sir.
Yeah, I'll be back again next month.
Show is always better when you're here, sir.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about what we're doing next week in just a moment. Until then, Bruce, in that time, where can we find your work? Do you have anything else that's coming out soon?
I just want to mention that the town I grew up in, Jackson, Kentucky, Breathitt County, Kentucky, and Eastern Kentucky, is underwater. They've had some horrific flooding the last 4 or 5 days in Eastern Kentucky. And if anybody is so inclined, you can go to kentucky.gov, and that's the state's official website. And at kentucky.gov, there's a little banner at the top that says donate to the Team Eastern Kentucky Flood Relief Fund at teamkentuckyfloodrelieffund.ky.gov. You can just click on that banner. You don't have to remember the Team KY Flood Relief Fund.ky.gov or whatever. It's just too much. But you go to kentucky.gov. It's right there at the top. You can donate as little as $5. People I know have lost their homes. People I knew from high school. There was a terrible flood when I was in the 4th grade that destroyed my home. So this is something that's kind of close to my heart. This place is prone to flooding, I guess, since it happened all those years ago. And they say this flood's worse than that one. So, $5 donation, you can get somebody a bottle of water and some Clorox wipes to help clean up this horrible mess that's left behind in their home. You can donate more than $5. It's tax deductible. You can donate in the honor of someone if there's someone who you want to make that donation in honor of. So yes, please consider going to kentucky.gov and donating to Team Kentucky Flood Relief Fund for the terrible, terrible flooding going on in Eastern Kentucky, specifically where I grew up, Breathitt County, Kentucky, Jackson, Kentucky. People I know locally from there are putting together some supplies to deliver. We can't even get there till Tuesday because of the flooding. So yeah, anything helps.
Absolutely.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that, Bruce. I saw that was happening, and I didn't know if it was in the area you grew up in. So that really sucks. Sorry, dude.
Yeah.
We'll absolutely put the link for that in the show notes and everything, so people can very easily click on that. Sean,
Oh,
what
that's
else?
a good idea. No, I'm going to end it there.
What, you don't want to go and pump our other bull crap? All right,
No,
that's fair
I
enough.
think that what Bruce is talking about is like the way a professional would do it is that we would just end the show here.
Nope, we are going to do other things. All right, so that is it, everybody. Next week, we're going...
Check out Fart the movie.
Check out Fart the Movie, available for rent now. I thought I would go to YouTube and get it. There is a trailer, but not the whole movie at YouTube. So very disappointing. Fart the Movie producers, you need to be putting that out on the YouTube for us.
That's one that's going to be on that Pulp TV or Freevee. Or
No, all of a sudden, I promise you, here's what's going to happen. Kino Lorber is going to put out like a Blu-ray of it, and it's going to cost $40, and we're all
the
going to...
Vinegar Syndrome,
Mhm.
perfect restore.
Exactly what's going on there. That is it, everybody. Join us next week when we're talking Neil Gaiman's Sandman on Netflix. Boy, they've been trying to make Sandman forever and a day. Let's see if they
Man.
finally can pull it off. I mean, hey, Neil
Hope it
Gaiman's
turns
involved
out
with
as
it.
good as Why the Last Man did.
Oh my God.
Probably. Just
You know
as
what? I
well.
think that might be the worst example. But I think we have the worst example.
So at least we have something to compare to. So we'll be checking
It's
that
true.
out next week. That is it, everybody. Join us next week for Sandman on Netflix. For Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Anna Portress. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.